If you're watching this video, there's a good chance you've experienced this frustration before. You start eating healthier, you start training harder, you feel motivated, you tell yourself this time is going to be different. And for a few weeks, things are going well. You're hitting the gym, you're making better choices, you might even lose a few kilos. But then you look in the mirror and your stomach still isn't where you want it to be. The belly fat is still there, the definition still isn't showing. And eventually you start asking yourself, why isn't this working? And this is where most people make the mistake. They assume they need more motivation. They think they're not disciplined enough. They think they need a better workout, a different diet, a new supplement. But the truth is, most people don't fail to lose belly fat because they don't want it badly enough. They fail because they're making a few common mistakes that keep them stuck. Mistakes that thousands of people repeat over and over again. They work hard, they put effort in, but they're focusing on the wrong things. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly why most people never lose belly fat, the mistakes that are keeping you stuck, what you actually need to focus on, and I'll show you real examples of men who were in exactly this position and managed to completely transform their bodies. Because the good news is, if you understand what's holding you back, you can fix it. And once you have the right process, losing belly fat becomes much simpler. Before we get into it, you might be wondering, why should I listen to you? And that's a fair question. The reason I can confidently talk about this is because I've helped hundreds of men lose fat, build muscle, and transform their confidence. I work with men who were starting from completely different places. Some had never trained before, some had been training for years but they couldn't get the results they wanted. Some were busy professionals who thought they didn't have enough time. Some had tried every diet under the sun, always ended up back to where they started. And the biggest thing I've learned from working with so many people is the problem is rarely effort. Most people who struggle with belly fat are not lazy, they're not lacking ambition, they're usually trying. The problem is they're missing the right strategy. They don't have a clear plan. They don't know how to adjust when things stop working, and they don't have a system that fits their actual life. Because losing belly fat isn't just about what you do when everything is going perfectly. It's about what you do when life gets busy, when work is stressful, when motivation disappears, when you have weekends away, when you have social events. That's where the real results are created. So let's get into the first reason why most people never lose belly fat. Mistake number one is waiting for the perfect time. This is probably one of the biggest reasons people stay stuck. They tell themselves, I'll start when work calms down. I'll start after this holiday. I'll start when I have time. I'll start when life is less stressful. But the reality is this: life is never going to be perfect. There will always be something. There will always be a busy period. There will always be a reason why now isn't the ideal time. And the people who successfully transform their bodies aren't the people who have fewer challenges. They're the people who learn how to work around them. A perfect example of this is Stefan. At 52 years old, most people would probably tell themselves they're too busy, too stressed, or too far behind to get into shape. But Stefan decided he wasn't going to be one of them. When Stefan joined the coaching program, his goal wasn't just about losing weight. He wanted to feel better physically, mentally, and emotionally. He wanted exercise to become a natural part of his life. He wanted to build a stronger, more defined physique. And he wanted to create a healthier future for himself and his family. But there was one major challenge. His job was demanding. He was working 12 to 14-hour days. He traveled frequently. And like many people before, he had tried before. Previous gym memberships and personal trainers had come and gone. He knew what he wanted. He just struggled to stay consistent without the right structure and accountability. And this is something I see all the time. People don't need someone to tell them they should exercise. They already know that. They don't need someone to tell them they should eat healthier. They already know that too. The difficult part is creating a plan that actually works when real life happens. So instead of trying to force Stefan into some unrealistic routine, we built a plan around his life. Home workouts using dumbbells and a barbell, flexible nutrition that works even when traveling, daily support and accountability to help him stay consistent when motivation dipped. And after 26 weeks, he went from 94.6 to 86.1 kg, 8.5 kg loss. But the biggest transformation wasn't just his number on the scale. He became leaner, stronger, more defined. He became more consistent than ever before. And exercise became a non-negotiable part of his lifestyle. The reason Stefan succeeded wasn't because he suddenly found more time than everyone else. He didn't. His schedule was still busy. His work was still demanding. The difference was he stopped relying on motivation and started following a proven plan. And that's the first lesson I want you to take away. You don't need the perfect circumstances to transform your body. You need a strategy that works with your circumstances. Because if you're waiting for life to become less busy before you start, you might be waiting forever. And the second mistake is one I see all the time, especially with men who already train. They're putting in effort effort, they're going to the gym, they're working hard, but their physique still isn't changing. And this is where a lot of people get frustrated because they think, I'm doing everything right, why don't I look different? But there's a reason this happens, and that's what we're going to talk about next. The second reason most people never lose belly fat is this. They train hard, but they don't have the right strategy. And this is probably one of the most frustrating situations to be in because you're not someone who isn't trying. You're going to the gym, you're putting the work in, you're probably doing more than most people. But when you look in the mirror, you still don't see the physique you're chasing. And this is where a lot of people make the wrong assumption. They think, I just need to train harder. I just need to do more cardio. I just need to spend more time in the gym. But sometimes more effort isn't the answer. Sometimes the answer is having a better plan because there's a big difference between exercising and training with a purpose. Exercise is moving your body. Training is having a structured approach that creates a specific outcome. And when your goal is losing belly fat while building an impressive physique, the details matter. Your nutrition matters, your protein intake matters, your training structure matters, your recovery matters, because you can work extremely hard and still not get the result you want if those things aren't aligned. A great example of this is Tom. Tom was 44 years old and had been training consistently for 4 years. He wasn't lazy. He wasn't someone who avoided hard work. In fact, he was doing more than most people. But despite years of training, he still looked in the mirror and saw the same frustrating physique staring back at him. That skinny fat look, where you're not overweight, but you don't have the definition or shape you want. And this is something a lot of men struggle with. They're not necessarily trying to lose 30 kg. They're trying to lose that stubborn layer of fat covering the muscle they already have. Every time Tom tried to lose weight, one of two things happened. He either lost muscle or he made progress but couldn't maintain it. And then life would get in the way. Work, travel, poor sleep, weekends, meals out, drinks with friends, the same challenges that most busy men face. And this is important because sometimes people think successful transformations happen because someone's life is perfect. It doesn't. Everyone has challenges. Everyone has commitments. Everyone has weekends where things don't exactly go to plan. The difference is having a structure that allows you to handle those situations. The problem wasn't Tom's effort. The problem was that he didn't have a clear process. He didn't need more motivation. He needed more direction. So we focused on creating a plan that actually fit his lifestyle, a plan that allowed him to continue enjoying his life while still making progress. And 20 weeks later, Tom went from 80 kg to 66.7. He got well below his original body fat target and he completely transformed his physique. But the biggest change wasn't just the physical transformation. It was that he finally understood how to make fitness fit into his life. No more hiding on holiday, no more starting again every Monday, no more guessing what to eat. Just confidence, clarity, and a physique he was proud of. And this is such an important lesson because a lot of people think losing belly fat requires you to become a completely different person. They think, I need to stop going out. I need to never eat my favorite foods. I need to spend every evening in the gym. And that's just not sustainable. The people who get results long term aren't the people who completely transform their life for 12 weeks. They're the people who build habits and can maintain it for years. Now, the third reason most people never lose belly fat is a big one. And this is especially relevant if you're someone who already trains, because there's a fear that stops a lot of people from properly committing to fat loss. And that fear is, I don't want to lose my muscle. And honestly, this is a valid concern because there's nothing more frustrating than spending years building your physique only to lose progress because you approach fat loss in the wrong way. A lot of people make this mistake. They think fat loss is just about eating as little as possible. They slash calories, they remove all their favorite foods, they do excessive cardio. And yes, the scale might move, but they also lose muscle. They end up smaller, but not necessarily better because the goal isn't just to weigh less. The goal is to reveal the physique underneath. You want to lose fat while keeping the muscle that gives your body shape. A great example of this is Ryan. Ryan joined the team after already training consistently 5 to 6 days per week for the previous 5 years. He had spent that time focusing on building muscle and he had done a great job. But like many people during a muscle building phase, his body fat had also increased. He wanted to lean down, he wanted to improve his body composition, but he lacked the knowledge to transition into a fat loss phase without losing the muscle tissue he'd worked years to build. And this is where having the right strategy matters. The goal wasn't simply how do I make Ryan lighter. The goal was how do we make Ryan leaner while keeping the muscle he built. So we focused on the things that actually matter. Keeping protein intake high, making sure his body had what it needed to maintain muscle, combining that with a structured training routine focused on progressive overload, making sure he was still giving his body a reason to hold onto and build muscle. And over 28 weeks, Ryan lost 12.8 kg. But the biggest reason Ryan succeeded wasn't because of some secret trick. It wasn't because he got lucky. It wasn't because he had better genetics. It was one word, and that word's consistency. Every single week he showed up. He followed the plan. He stayed disciplined. He focused on the process. And that's something people underestimate, because everyone wants the secret. Everyone wants the shortcut. But the truth is, the boring things done consistently are what create incredible results. And there's one more reason why so many people never lose the belly fat. And this one might be the biggest of them all. Because even people who start correctly, even people who make progress, still often quit. And it comes down to what happens when progress slows down. That's what we're going to talk about in the final section. The fourth reason most people never lose belly fat is this: they quit when progress slows down. And this is where so many people go wrong, because everyone is motivated at the start. Everyone feels excited when they begin. You've made the decision, you've bought the food, you've planned your workouts. You feel like this time is going to be different. And for the first few weeks, it usually is. The scale starts moving, you feel better, you're motivated, but then something happens. Progress slows down. The weight loss isn't as fast as it was at the beginning. Your stomach isn't changing as quickly. And suddenly you start questioning everything. Is this even working? Maybe I need a different diet. Maybe this plan isn't right for me. And this is the moment where most people make the biggest mistake. They quit. They jump into something else. They start again. They repeat the same cycle over and over again. But the truth is, a plateau doesn't mean you failed. A plateau is a normal part of the process. Your body is constantly adapting. As you lose weight, your body changes. Your calorie needs change, your activity levels change, and sometimes your plan needs adjusting. That doesn't mean it isn't working. It means you need to understand how to adapt. And this is exactly where Ian's transformation is such a good example. When Ian started this journey, he was lacking confidence and had never truly committed to a transformation before. Like many people, he wanted to lose body fat, he wanted to feel healthier, he wanted to build a more defined physique, and he wanted to finally become the best version of himself. He had already made great progress on his own, but eventually he hit a plateau. He felt stuck. He wasn't sure what to change. And this is where many people give up. They think, maybe this is just my limit. Maybe my body can't change anymore. But Ian decided not to accept that. Instead of guessing and trying random approaches, he committed to following a structured process. Over the 44 weeks, we followed a plan using my Triple R approach. We adapted when progress slowed. We made strategic change when his body stopped responding. We kept protein high to maintain and build muscle. And most importantly, we focused on creating habits that would last long after the diet was finished. The result? Ian went from 109 kilos down to 83.5. That's a transformation of over 25 kg. But again, the biggest change wasn't just the number on the scale. It was his confidence, the self-belief, the proof that he was capable of achieving something that once felt impossible. And Ian's journey highlights something really important. Most people aren't struggling because they don't want it enough. They're struggling because they're trying to figure everything out alone. They don't know what adjustments to make. They don't know whether they're doing the right things. And they hit a difficult period. They don't have anything keeping them accountable. Now, if you've watched this and you're thinking, okay, I understand the mistakes, but you're still wondering what actually separates the people who transform from everyone else. It's actually much simpler than most people think. It comes down to one thing. They stop looking for motivation and start building systems, because motivation is temporary. Everyone has motivation at the start, but motivation disappears. You're not always going to feel like trading. You're not always going to feel like you want to meal prep. You're not always going to make the perfect choice, and that's normal. The people who succeed aren't the people who never struggle. They're the people who have a process that helps them stay consistent even when things aren't perfect. They understand that one bad meal doesn't ruin progress. One missed workout doesn't ruin progress. One difficult week doesn't ruin progress. They don't let one mistake become a month of mistakes. They get back on track, and that's the difference. So if you're currently trying to lose belly fat, I want you to remember this. You don't need another extreme diet. You don't need another quick fix. You don't need to completely change your life overnight. You need the fundamentals. You need a sustainable calorie deficit. You need enough protein. You need a structured training plan. You need daily movement. You need accountability. And most importantly, you need patience. Because the reason most people never lose belly fat isn't because their body is broken. It's because they never stay consistent long enough with the things that actually work. They keep changing the plan. They keep starting over. They keep searching for something easier. But the people who transform their bodies understand something. The process doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be repeated. So let's quickly recap on the 4 biggest reasons why most people never lose belly fat. Number one is that they wait for the perfect time. They tell themselves they'll start when life gets easier, but successful people learn how to make progress during busy seasons of life. Stefan proved that. He didn't magically get more time. He built a plan that worked around his schedule. Number two is that they train but don't have the right strategy. They're putting effort in, but their nutrition and training aren't aligned with their goal. Tom proved that. He wasn't lazy. He wasn't lacking effort. He needed structure. Number three is that they lose weight the wrong way and sacrifice muscle. They focus only on the scale instead of building the physique they actually want. Ryan proved that the goal isn't just being lighter. The goal is looking and feeling better. Number four is that they quit when progress slows down. They mistake a normal part of the process for failure. Ian proved that with right adjustments and consistency, a plateau can become the point where the biggest changes happen. And if you're watching this thinking, honestly, I know exactly what I need to do, I just haven't been able to stay consistent, then that's probably the biggest sign that you don't need more information, you need a better system. Because knowledge is rarely the problem. Most people already know they should eat better. Most people already know they should train. Most people already know they should move more. The challenge is execution, doing the right things consistently, especially when motivation disappears. If this video helped you understand why you've been stuck and what you need to do differently, make sure you subscribe. Every week I share videos helping men lose fat, build muscle and transform their bodies without extreme diets or unrealistic approaches. And if you're serious about getting lean, make sure you watch the next video where I explain the 3 main steps to lose that stubborn belly fat. And if you want quick, simple and easy fat loss and muscle gain tips, then head over to my Instagram and drop me a follow on there, and I'll see you in the next video.